Was there anyone around this time of life, like from the business, that was staying in touch with your family at all?
I want to say that for the longest time, Steve tried to stay in touch with us. So Steve, being the good friend of my dad's that he was, he really tried to stay in touch and stay in touch and stay in touch. But like I said, we go back to my mother constantly asking some of the boys, for money, this, that, and the other. Can you come do this appearance? Can you come do this to help raise money? And she'd always use us kids as like, oh, we're the kids.
Right.
It's for the kids. We're the anchor, right? So then for years and years and years, I'm sure a lot of the boys felt that guilt from her. And then they probably just said, they probably just cut her off and said, look, Melanie, we're done. Like, we see the kids and you're not using the money on them. You're doing your own thing with you and your. So I think that I hate to use her as the scapegoat for it all because I'm sure there's other reasons, But everyone I've met in the business said that my dad was 100% good to them and treated them really good. So I feel like there's no heat or there's no ill will towards my father. I feel like the boys just either figured we were doing all right.
Right.
There wasn't as much social media when I was growing up in the 90s, so it was like, okay, they probably thought we were either doing really good or B, they just had the bad taste in their mouth from dealing with my mother and dealing with her stuff. So I don't blame anybody in wrestling for not like snatching me up and like taking me under their wing. Like I reached out to wrestling. I'm the one that no one in the business said, hey, come, we're going to train you to be a wrestler. I had to want it, and I wanted it that I went and reached out to Lance Storm and I started the process of becoming a professional wrestler.
I was going to ask you, when was the moment you made the decision and what led to it? Was it a big moment or was it a gradual thing?
I want to say super, super, super gradual, and then something hit me. And I'll tell you right now what hit me. It was always in the back of my head, always. So like I said, when I moved in with my friend Paul at the age of 15, I'm sleeping on the floor of his apartment where he stays with his own single mother. And I'm thinking to myself, as I'm sleeping on this floor, I'm saying, one day this is all going to be worth it. One day I'm going to be a star. One day I'm going to take this opportunity and become a pro wrestler. And then that's how I'd sleep on that floor every night. That's how I'd put myself to sleep. And then finally, the opportunity to go to college came up and things started looking better, so I kind of put it off to the wayside. Okay, let me just try to be normal. Let me succeed at being normal. Well, I did succeed at being normal. I succeeded, I got a degree, I did what everyone told me to do. And I had a nice corporate job with all the benefits in the world for a year. But that wasn't enough for me. I clearly found out by going out in the world that when you're just successful at being average, you are successfully nobody. You are just another Joe at the bar.
Right.
And I'm thinking, I look great. I'm doing all these things that everybody's telling me. Why is my life not what I want it to be? Why am I not getting to date the women that I want to date? Why am I not making the money I want to make? And then I realized that energy inside me that my father had was to go out and do more, was to go out and to be somebody. But I just let myself become too accustomed to the society, or this is how, you know what I mean? I just became a drone. And I was like, I got to go back to the old me. I got to go back to when I was young, when I was in school, and I was just killing it, right?
Right.
So I was like, let me get back in the gym, let me get swole. And then it's just through that energy, through getting back in shape, I was like, all right, this is me. This is who I want to be. I want to be a wrestler. I want to travel the world. I want to be a star.
Do you think you made the decision to try to feel closer to your dad?
That too. If you want to be honest, that's how I learned about my father. I couldn't learn about him any other way. And I feel like when I first started wrestling, I just learned so much about him, so much more about him. I still learn more every day. I've learned just from talking to you during this interview and before the interview. So that's another big reason. But I think it's about finding myself. And I think through finding myself, like they say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. You start to find and start to learn about your father. You start to learn where he came from. And I used to think that those were toxic tendencies and those were toxic energies because it ultimately led to my father's demise. But no, those energies were necessary for him to succeed, right? The final reason, it wasn't because of the girls, it wasn't because of the money or the fame. The final reason was because I truly believe that there's nothing else I could do better than this job. There's nothing else that I think our DNA is geared towards. There's nothing that brings me closer to my father in this whole world, and like I said, I've never been closer with him.